He's accused of brutally killing a 10-year-old girl.
And today, lawyers started narrowing down the group of people who will decide Kevin Underwood's fate. Fox 25's Britton Follett tells us Underwood on trial could be a long process.
To start, the judge asked potential jurors to fill out this questionnaire. It has the easy questions. Lawyers ask the tough questions behind closed doors. 127 potential jurors walked into court. Only 12 will take front row seats to what prosecutors called Kevin Underwood's cannibalistic plot to kill Jamie Rose Boland.
These crimes that are so horrific are kind of few and far between, and yes, they're extremely difficult. The lawyers, I would imagine that none of the lawyers will come out of it the same as they were beforehand.
And picking their jury could take time because the judge decided to use what's called individual voir dire. Defense attorney Garvin Isaacs says that's common in high-profile death penalty cases. But what's uncommon is that the public is not allowed in the room.
This is not something that I've ever known of any judge in Oklahoma to do in a case like this.
Lawyers will question each potential juror individually about personal feelings on the death penalty.
Have you ever thought about the death penalty? When would the death penalty be appropriate? Are there any circumstances under which you could consider the death penalty?
Lawyers will ask potential jurors if they've seen a lot of news coverage.
The first remedy is to continue the case until this pretrial publicity subsides. Well, you could continue Underwood forever.
Even the national media broadcasted news conferences live after FBI agents announced they found Jamie Boland's body in Underwood's apartment. Isaac says a juror who has heard about the case can still be fair.
A lot of people who have heard about it and who have heard a lot about it are open-minded. They're going to do their best.
Because Kevin Underwood's life is in their hands. If the defense plans to use the insanity defense, Isaac says lawyers will also ask potential jurors about their experience with mental health problems. Back to you.
Britton Follett, thank you. The bailiffs.
High-profile murder case right here in Oklahoma.
Opening statements are set to begin this afternoon in the trial of Kevin Underwood. He is charged with killing his neighbor, 10-year-old Jamie Rose Boland. Fox 23's Carrie Netherton is following this trial, and Carrie, prosecutors are asking for the death penalty.
Well, that's right, Ron. Police working this investigation say it's the most gruesome crime they've ever seen. Officers say the murder of Jamie Rose Boland was part of a cannibalistic plot. Police found Boland's mutilated body in a plastic tub in Underwood's bedroom closet back in April of 2006. Detectives believe Underwood's goal was to rape, torture, and kill. Evidence at the scene also led police to conclude Underwood planned to engage in cannibalism. Court officials say final jury selection will be held in open court this morning, and both sides will present their opening statements this afternoon. Now, it's taken several days to find a jury. Attorneys say evidence could be so graphic it may make some jurors sick. The defense plans to show Underwood took antidepressants and was also detached from reality. Among those taking the stand for the defense, Underwood's aunt, Gail Coburn. She is expected to testify she persuaded him to seek medical treatment, which led to the use of antidepressant Lexapro. Ron, Ann, back to you guys.
Thank you, Carrie. And some more information. Underwood's trial was moved from Purcell to neighboring Cleveland County because
rape,
of pretrial
cannibalism, and murder. The jury is in place for Kevin Underwood's murder trial, and now the jury must listen to the sickening details of Jamie Boland's last moments. Fox 25's Britton Follett was there for Underwood on trial.
The district attorney called Kevin Underwood not the worst, but the worst of the worst. Even Underwood's lawyers admit the story of Jamie Boland's death will likely be the worst the jurors will ever hear. A warning, the details you're about to hear are graphic. Just as this man called for Kevin Underwood's death 2 years ago.
Let's string him up! Let's string him up! Baby killer! It could have been my daughter! Could have been my daughter! Or my best friend's daughter! Could have been one of my kids! Let's string him up!
District Attorney Greg Mashburn called for jurors to sentence Underwood to death if they find him guilty of murdering Jamie Rose Boland. In opening arguments, the DA told jurors Underwood started his plot to kill on the internet, with pornography involving autopsy photos and cannibalism. The DA says Underwood planned to kidnap someone, knock them unconscious with a cutting board, tie them up, force them to watch porn with him, cut their head off over the bathtub, then rape the corpse while his victim's head sat on his desk watching. Mashburn says Underwood practiced his plan with a Barbie doll and put it into action with the girl still young enough to play with Barbies, Jamie Bolen. Underwood's lawyers admit jurors will likely find their client guilty, but they say he, like everyone else in the United States, deserves a fair trial, and there's more to the case than who did it. They say Underwood was taking antidepressants and told police he was concerned about what the medicine was doing to him. They say it's a story about two deaths, Jamie Bolen's and the death of the man accused of killing her. Underwood's lawyers asked jurors to spare his life just before he walked back to jail. Lawyers warned the 7 men and 5 women picked for this jury about the graphic nature of the evidence that will be presented. It took nearly 5 full days of questioning to find the 12 people who will decide Underwood's fate. Back to you.
Britton Follett, thank you. Now, tomorrow morning, the state will call its first witness, and a lot of the details of this trial are too graphic for television, so Britton will post her notes from the courtroom on her blog. If you'd like to read them, go to our website, okcfox.com, and on the left side of the page, click.
The family of a 10-year-old girl killed 2 years ago was warned to leave the courtroom today. Lawyers showed graphic pictures of the girl's body. Fox 25's Britton Follett was there as the first witnesses were called in the Kevin Underwood murder trial.
10 witnesses helped prosecutors explain to the jury how Jamie Bolen and Kevin Underwood's lives crossed and why a statewide search ended next door. Kevin Underwood lived just down the stairs and across the breezeway, witnesses say, from the girl he murdered. Jamie's dad, Curtis Bolen, told the jury he dropped his daughter off at school on April 12, 2006. But when he got home that night, his daughter was missing. In case she came home, Jamie's dad says he waited all night outside of the sliding doors to Kevin Underwood's apartment while police searched per cell, never imagining his daughter's body was inside. FBI agents told the jury Kevin Underwood stopped at one of 4 roadside checks and asked the agent why he had not been interviewed, because he saw her alive the night she disappeared, and the television reports that she was wearing a pink shirt and jeans were wrong. The agent says at first they did not suspect Underwood had anything to do with Jamie's disappearance, until he told them he figured he was a prime suspect because he was a loner and would often stand outside his apartment. When agents asked to search inside his apartment, they did not expect to find anything. But inside a closet in Underwood's apartment, agents say they found this large blue tub sealed with duct tape. Agents say Underwood told them he stored comic books inside and sealed the top to keep moisture out. But when agents opened the tub, they saw a blue shirt that matched the description Underwood had given them earlier. When agents moved the blue shirt aside, they say they found Jamie's head in a black plastic bag. Underwood's lawyers were silent nearly all day. They only cross-examined one FBI agent to point out that Underwood was cooperative throughout the investigation and did not appear nervous or anxious until they found Jamie's body. Back to you.
Today's witnesses went
Courthouse, as it seemed to be on edge, and the trial of Kevin Underwood getting more graphic.
Swords, sex toys, and meat skewers. Through pictures and evidence, prosecutors took jurors inside Kevin Underwood's apartment and inside the tote where agents found a bag filled with pornography, a computer box filled with sex toys. The defense argued there is no DNA connecting many of those items to Jamie Bolen's body. But the state showed the jury her shirt, shorts, and underwear. Witnesses say were marked with DNA matching Kevin Underwood. The jury saw a picture of Jamie's body on the autopsy table, wrapped in plastic bags. The same plastic bags prosecutors say were pulled from the tote in Underwood's closet and showed to the jury covered in blood. Prosecutors also showed the jury a duffel bag with Jamie's bike inside. They say Underwood took apart the bike, kept the tire under his bed, and planned to take the bike out to the dumpster one piece at a time. Back to you.
All right, Britton Follett, thank you. Now, the state plans to call 3 witnesses tomorrow. One of those should include Underwood's taped confession. The judge says the jury should start deliberations Friday morning. Now, a lot of the things agents say they found in Underwood's apartment are too graphic for us to show you here.
Confession wraps up the state's case against Kevin Underwood. The defense did not call a single witness. Fox 25's Britton Follett tells us about the last minutes of Jamie Boland's life through the words of her killer.
Kevin Underwood's confession emptied the Cleveland County courtroom even before it was over. Complete strangers walked out in tears, saying they could not listen any longer. A warning, what you're about to hear is very graphic. The voice of a killer chilled the courtroom. In a nonchalant tone, Kevin Underwood told agents about his plan to kill and eat a human body. He said, "I wanted to know what it tasted like, and just the thought of eating someone was appealing to me." He said it was not a pedophile thing, age and gender did not matter, and he had been planning it for a month. In the entertainment center right by my door, I'd had for the last month a piece of duct tape stuck there, so I could just grab it and slide the tape over their mouth. The handcuffs were sitting there on the shelf so I could restrain them, hopefully before they had the time to yell. If he grabbed an adult, he had a wooden cutting board to knock them out, but he used it on Jamie Rose Boland. He said he whacked her on the head and covered her mouth until she stopped screaming. That's something that's, haunted me forever since it happened. She started yelling, "I'm sorry." Which, I'm like, what is she sorry for? She didn't do anything wrong. It's me, I'm the one that should be sorry. Underwood said he began taking her bike apart because he said, with my plan to eat her, it seemed like the bike was going to be a lot harder to dispose of than the body. But when he says he tried to cut her head off, he says he got tired. I was disgusted. I couldn't even keep the blood in the tub. Just clean up this mess and get the body out of here. I'm not even going to have sex with her. The tape ended when Underwood could not stop vomiting. Court ended when Underwood's lawyers did not call a single witness. In the confession, Underwood said Jamie Boland was a very trusting kid, and even if it was not him who killed her, it could have been someone else. But he said he knows what he did was wrong and that he deserves to be punished. Back to you.
Tomorrow morning, the jury will hear closing arguments before the deliberations. Once jurors reach a verdict, the sentencing phase of the trial will begin. Underwood could be sentenced to death. Britton is in the process of posting Underwood's confession on her blog. Please note, it is incredibly graphic. If you'd like to read it, though, you can go to our website at okcfox.com.
Brutal murder case gripping the entire state.
She loved life, and I think to be remembered that way instead of just the child that was murdered in Purcell. I think that just to remember her as vibrant and alive and that her life had meaning.
A jury looked at her life and how she was killed. Now the verdict is in for the man charged with murder in a cannibalistic plot.
So there's evil in this world, and he's a demon, and he needs to burn and go to hell and right back where he belongs.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Britton Follett. It took 25 minutes for the jury to find Kevin Underwood guilty of killing Jamie Rose Boland. The emotional week ended with the confession of a killer, but the trial is only half over.
Kevin, why did you confess? Do you feel bad for what you did?
For a week, Kevin Underwood was escorted out of jail wearing the same shirt and tie.
He's a monster in human form.
And the same blank expression.
I think he was just an evil person, and that's all there is to it. He's an animal.
The blank expression continued as the courtroom listened to his chilling confession. In a casual tone, Underwood described his month-long plot to kidnap, rape, kill, and eat Jamie Boland.
I admit I lost it, and I had to get up and leave to maintain the dignity of the courtroom.
In closing arguments, District Attorney Greg Mashburn almost broke down as he told the jury Underwood did more to Jamie than he admitted on tape. He minimized his crime.
I don't blame him for getting emotional. We've been emotional the whole time.
They stood for justice for Jamie and for the other Jamies that are out there.
The emotion ended as the guilty verdict was read. Underwood did not even blink.
I think he's happy with what he did, and if he ever had a chance to do it again, he would.
In his confession, Underwood told agents, "I know what I did was wrong, and that I deserve to be punished for it." Next week, the jury will decide if that punishment is death.
I was for mercy. And then when I found out what he really did to her, that not only did he plan it, He stalked her. He enticed her into being his friend and everything else. And I'm like, he knew what he was doing. He showed her no mercy.
Now it's up to his lawyers to convince jurors why they should have mercy on Jamie's killer. After the verdict, a friend of the Underwood family who sat next to his family through most of the trial told us Underwood's father does not talk much about the case. But even before the trial started, they realized whether Underwood gets the death penalty or not, they've lost him. She does not know whether Underwood's father will testify on his son's behalf during sentencing. If you'd like to read Underwood's confession for yourself, I've posted it on my blog. Just go to our website.
Murderer's Fate. Thank you for joining us. I'm Andrew Spina.
And I'm Jamie Soretta. The same jury that took just 25 minutes convicting Kevin Underwood takes much longer to recommend his punishment. Fox 25's Katie DeLon joins us live via telephone with the latest on Kevin Underwood's penalty phase.
Well, Jamie and Andrew, the jury is continuing to deliberate the fate of Kevin Underwood. They've been in deliberations now for 6 hours, deciding if Kevin Underwood will receive the death penalty, life with parole, or without parole. This has certainly taken many people by surprise here at the Cleveland County Courthouse, just how long the jury has been sequestered now. Now, we started off the day by hearing the state's rebuttal witness, and then after lunch we heard closing arguments. Prosecutors got up calling Kevin Underwood a sexual sadist, a cannibal who can't change who he is. They described how in the final moments of Jamie Rose Bowen's life, he used his hands to kill her because he wanted to feel her die because it gave him sexual pleasure. And they also spoke about Jamie's family, about how her death is something they'll never be able to recover from. When the defense got up, they spoke about how every life has value, including Kevin Underwood. They said Underwood is a disturbed man, a sick man who suffers from severe psychological disorders, and that taking his life will not make the Bowens' grief any better. In fact, it will only cause the Underwood family to be victims themselves. Then on recross, DA Greg Mashburn told the jury that if you come back without a death penalty verdict, then Jamie just becomes a victim all over again. Well, at 3 o'clock, the jury went into deliberations. About an hour later, they asked for videotape confession and also pictures of the crime scene, and they also wanted clarification on life without parole, because the jury has to consider the death penalty has to be one of two things: that Jamie's death was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, or that Underwood will continue to be a threat to society. Of course, we'll be here for jury deliberations well into the night, and then we'll, of course, have any updates during this broadcast. Andrew and Jamie, back to you guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. A long day and night for everyone out there tonight. If jurors cannot reach a verdict in the case tonight, they will then be sequestered, then returned to court tomorrow. If there's a hung jury, Fox 25's Britton Follett tells us during the penalty phase, jurors got to look inside the mind of the killer.
In a notebook, doctors say Kevin Underwood wrote, "The computer is controlling my life. I can't control myself anymore. I'm in hell. I'm in hell. Shut up." Doctors say Underwood could not control the urges any longer, and Jamie Bowen was his victim.
I don't think it's a mental illness or anything like that. I think he was just an evil person, and that's all there is to it. He's an animal.
3 doctors say Kevin Underwood is not insane, is not a psychopath. Instead, they say he has a rare personality disorder, is bipolar, and has strange sexual urges involving women's clothing, children, and rape. While doctors could not find anything physically wrong with his brain, they say even in jail, Kevin has continued the sexual fantasies he tried to carry out when he killed, molested, and planned to eat Jamie Bowen. Prosecutors argue it's those fantasies that make Underwood likely to reoffend, even if he's in prison, because he's triggered by loneliness, boredom, and frustration. All 3 doctors also said there is evidence Underwood lied on the personality test to make himself look more troubled. Prosecutors argue he may have lied to avoid the death penalty. Doctors say Underwood told them he blames God for making his brain bad, maybe his dad a little bit, but mostly himself. It was Underwood's mom who made a final tearful plea to the jury to spare her son's life. Now jurors decide which tearful plea to answer, Kevin Underwood's parents or Jamie Bowen's. It's not over quite yet. Prosecutors are expected to call one more witness, a doctor who will rebut the expert witnesses called by the defense. Then Underwood's life is in the jury's hands. Back to you.
We expect to hear from that witness on Friday morning. The jury could begin deliberations later that day. It will be 3 weeks after the trial started. To catch up on everything that's happened so far in the Kevin Underwood murder trial, go to Britain's blog. It's on our website, okcfox.com. Click on Britain's blog. And be warned, what you'll read is
Results
very graphic.
later in the hour.
A jury recommends a death penalty for a man convicted of killing a young girl. Kevin Underwood is convicted of killing 10-year-old Jamie Boland of Purcell in 2006. The jury deliberated for more than 8 hours before reaching a verdict late last night. Underwood admits the murder was part of a bizarre fantasy to torture and eat his victims.
Shocked Oklahoma. Good evening. I'm Jamie Soretta.
I'm Andrew Spino. Kevin Underwood planned to brutally kill a little girl. He did it, then told the FBI all about it. Fox 25's Britton Follett has the confession of a killer first on Fox tonight. Britton.
It was not the pictures or the bloody evidence. It was Kevin Underwood's voice that cleared the courtroom. Complete strangers left in tears during Underwood's confession. After the trial, we filed an open records request to get a copy of the tape so you too can watch a killer's confession. While the video quality is poor, we warn you what you're about to hear is very disturbing.
I was just going to grab whoever, and I had some handcuffs and some duct tape. I was going to handcuff them and put the duct tape over their mouth so they couldn't scream.
3 days after he murdered Jamie Boland, Kevin Underwood sat casually, leaning back in his chair with his legs and arms crossed in the Purcell Police Department, describing his plot to kill.
If it was a kid, I was going to just make them sit there and watch some porn first. And then I was going to have sex with them. After the sex, it would turn kind of violent. I'd start kind of torturing him a little and stuff like that.
He told agents he practiced torturing a Barbie doll head and carried out his plan on a 10-year-old girl.
I kind of wanted her, but it didn't really matter. I mean, that's to tell the truth, that's the main reason I was hanging out in front of my apartment, is to watch all the kids and watch all the people come and go. And it was, I had pretty much planned all along to probably get a kid, just mainly because they'd be easier to grab and easier to get rid of afterwards, smaller, and put up less of a fight.
But Jamie Boland fought hard.
That's something that's haunted me ever since it happened. She started yelling, "I'm sorry," which I'm just like, what is she sorry for? She didn't do anything wrong. It's me. I'm the one that should be sorry.
Underwood even showed the agents how he hit her with the cutting board. Killing her wore him out.
And I got her in there, draped her over the side of the tub, which, I thought I was stronger than that, but I could barely get her up on that tub.
Underwood planned to decapitate and eat Jamie Boland's body, destroying the evidence.
I wanted the body perfect and clean. I didn't want to get blood all in her hair, so I'd have to wash it and everything.
Underwood was too weak to cut off her head, but he did cut up her bike and planned to take it to the dumpster one piece at a time. FBI agents found her body stuffed in a tote.
I know what I did was wrong, and I know that I deserve to be punished for it.
While they were deliberating Underwood's sentence, the jury asked to see that confession along with pictures of the crime scene again. 8 hours and 15 minutes later, they sentenced Underwood to death. Andrew?
Britton Follett in the newsroom tonight. Thanks. Underwood will be formally sentenced April 3rd. Much of his confession is too graphic for television, believe it or not, and we'll put the entire hour-and-a-half long confession on our website. If you want to see it, go to okcfox.com, go to the video section, click on Raw News.
The man convicted of killing a young Purcell girl wants his death sentence overturned.
Kevin Ray Underwood has a hearing today in Norman. His attorneys are filing a conviction appeal. A jury convicted Underwood for the death of Jamie Rose Boland in 2008. Authorities found her body inside a storage tub in Underwood's closet.